This video is sponsored by Manscaped. Alright gamers, Father's Day is coming up and you know what that means. Time to try to find a gift for your dad that he will actually use and not leave sitting in the closet. And you can do what I did and make your Father's Day shopping easy by checking out Manscaped's wide selection of products, including the Handyman Face Shaver. If you just want to quickly touch up your stubble, this little bite-sized buddy is perfect for giving you a quick and smooth finish. As expected, it has skin-safe technology to help reduce the risk of cuts and nicks. And it's of course waterproof to help make cleanup easier. Another good option is the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. I got my dad one of these last year and he swears by it. The battery lasts an insane amount of time, so you can be as lazy as you want and not charge it that often. And like many of Manscaped's other products, it's cordless and waterproof, so you can use it just about anywhere. So if you want to get in on these products plus many more, you can get 20% off your order plus free international shipping when you go to manscaped.com/cosmonaut and use code Cosmonaut at checkout. In case you missed it, that's 20% off your order plus free international shipping with promo code Cosmonaut at manscaped.com/cosmonaut. Welcome back everybody to the worst superhero movies ever made, a series where we are eating good, brothers. Normally, I only do a few of these videos a year, but we are being blessed in the year 2024. Sony is releasing not one, not two, but three potentially awful superhero movies this year.
Yes!
Now my original idea was to wait and release a big video where I review all of them at the end of the year, but to my dismay, Kraven the Hunter has been delayed to December. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it got delayed further.
But I want it now!
But thankfully, the first film in this trilogy of trash dropped, and it is just as bad as I could have hoped. Madam Web has had a unique journey. After the internet memed the hell out of Morbius, another Sonyverse movie that I still need to review, I'll get to it one day, I promise. For some reason, the studio thought that audiences really want movies about random-ass Spider-Man side characters. So, who else do we have access to? Green Goblin? No. Dr. Octopus? Nope. The blind old lady who can't walk? Yeah! Now, when this movie got announced, most people reacted the way you'd expect.
I don't really want this.
But then everything changed when the first trailer dropped. A trailer with a line read that will go down in history.
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
Then we were off to the races. That's when me and countless other moviegoers got hyped for Madam Web. Not because it looked good, I was excited because it looked bad.
What? I love garbage.
So let's see if Madam Web truly is one of the worst superhero movies ever made. So Madam Web is unique in that it's very similar to the superhero movies of the early 2000s. Movies that take a side character or lesser known superhero and decide to just make up random shit about them and try to streamline their entire extensive comic history into just one film. And we've already watched quite a few movies that are like that in this series. You see, in the comics, Madam Web is a mutant with psychic powers who helps Spider-Man every once in a while. But that's kind of it. She's not even a C-lister. She's more like a D-lister. And just in case you don't believe me, this is the first Marvel movie to star a character that has never had their own comic book before. There's not a lot of content to make a movie out of for old Cassie Webb. In this film, we get an entire made-up backstory for her and every other character that we meet. So I'm just gonna throw this story in the same bin as Catwoman and say fuck it. For this one, the comics don't matter. Let's just allow the filmmakers to take us on a ride. So this movie opens up in the 70s, where Madam Web's mom is in the Amazon researching spiders right before she dies. Unfortunately, that amazing line read isn't in the actual movie, so we just have to watch the normal backstory where this woman is going on a jungle adventure deep within the 9th month of her pregnancy. Then this guy walks up, and they give us a bunch of exposition to set the mood. See, this isn't a good movie, so it's either we get an opening crawl, or we get unnamed characters telling us everything to our faces in the first 5 minutes of the film.
That spider can give superhuman strength and power like Las Arañas.
Damn, that is not at all what he said. It would be really funny if that kept happening. So anyway, this lady's looking for a magical spider that can potentially heal uncurable diseases. She's also really mean to this guy for no reason.
Perhaps you should rest.
I don't have time. Thank you for the umbrella.
You know, maybe you would survive this flashback if you were a little bit nicer. So we're shown that this guy is a little bit shady right before the pregnant lady returns with what she claims is the magical spider. That's right, she just found it off screen. That's pretty cool. But then, the shady guy starts immediately killing everybody to get the magical spider. The funny thing is, he doesn't even check to see if she's telling the truth. He doesn't waste any time. He doesn't verify what she's saying. He just runs out of the tent and starts doming everybody the second he hears the word spider. Then he's like, "Oh, you better give me the spider or I'll shoot you with a gun, Madam Web's mom." And she's like, "No, I need it for a reason that's explained later in the movie." You see, later on, we learn that she wants the spider so it can heal her unborn baby's incurable disease. So like, yeah, on one hand, I understand that she really wants the spider so her unborn baby doesn't die. But also, he does have a gun and he killed everybody. Like, yeah, your baby might die from that disease, but also, the baby will definitely die if you let the dude with the gun shoot you. But anyway, she tries fighting the armed lunatic and she gets shot. I mean, yeah, what do you expect? That's what happens. Like, look how many spiders there are. You could have just got another one. But it's okay because a bunch of Spider-Men suddenly descend from the trees and rescue her. This is the point where I realized this is gonna be a good movie. It's gonna be so fucking good. So the jungle Spider-Men take a magic spider that they had lying around and they inject her with it and deliver her baby. And then she dies anyway, so whatever.
She will come back when she needs answers. And when she does, I will be here for her.
So is like all of the ADR like that? Is all the dialogue just not gonna match their mouths? I'm sure it's just for the flashback, and it's definitely not gonna be a thing, right? So anyway, flash forward, it's now the early 2000s. That's right, the movie really wants to remind us it's set in the early 2000s. It wants to immerse us in the time period. Remember Blockbuster and Beyonce? Yeah, I wish Beyonce was still around too. And as someone who's getting a little bit old now, this movie brought back a lot of bad memories for me. I know a lot of Zoomers on TikTok have fake nostalgia for this time period, but trust me, it was a very disturbing time to be alive. You weren't missing much. Nobody in this era had any shame. You don't want to know the kind of shit people were saying back then.
I go by Her Highness Princess Waffles McSquirrel, but on Tuesdays you can call me Boris.
Now that we're flash forward 30 years, we can see that Cassandra Webb has grown into a healthy, normal woman who doesn't have a deadly illness. Also, she works as a paramedic with her best friend, Ben Parker. Yep. Yes, sir. That's right. Young Uncle Ben is Madam Webb's best friend. Just in case you were wondering how stupid this movie was gonna be.
Never thought I'd be this happy to be back in Queens.
What, you've never been shot at in Queens?
Like, there's no reason to say something like that. It's like she knows I'm watching the movie. Also, right off the bat, we learn that Cassie inherited her mom's personality. I'm trying to say she's mean.
Seriously, Ben, dial it back. I'm fine.
For some reason, her primary character trait that we're shown as our introduction to her is that she is dispassionate and uncaring when it comes to others. I just want to remind you, this is a person who, for some reason, became a paramedic.
She's gonna be okay.
Who?
Your, patient.
Like, why? No, really, why? Because I've seen this movie like 5 times now, because I have a problem. I love garbage. And honestly, her being a paramedic doesn't really offer that much to the plot anyway. I guess the only way it's important is that she knows CPR, because that's important at the end of the movie. But like, she could have been a fucking lifeguard and the movie wouldn't change that much. It's just really confusing as to why this character, who doesn't care about others at all, has a job that is just out of character for her to have. Also, one thing I should bring up here is Dakota Johnson's performance as Cassandra Webb. See, I know Dakota can act. I've seen it once or twice, and her performance in this movie isn't exactly your usual brand of bad superhero movie acting. It's something a little unique. It's almost like her performance is sarcastic.
You're an asshole.
It feels like she knows she's too good for this shit. It's like she's making fun of me for watching the movie.
We're saving that for one of the games.
Games.
And this gets a little more fascinating when you learn about what kind of person Dakota Johnson is. Or at least the kind of person she shows us. I don't know her, I haven't met her. See, I'm gonna have to step away from the Madam Web review for a moment and give a Cosmonaut quickie to Dakota Johnson, the woman who doesn't want to be here. A lot of people might know Dakota Johnson from this viral clip where she called out Ellen DeGeneres for lying on national television.
How was the party? I wasn't invited.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
How do you know? I don't think so.
Ask everybody.
This was also going viral around the time that Ellen got outed for being an asshole, so it endeared everybody to Dakota Johnson. It made some people into fans. People quickly learned that she is a wacky little lady.
I was gonna say I'm constantly trying to get my best friend arrested.
Stop! White women, stop!
Eventually, another clip of Dakota went semi-viral where she was giving a tour of her house. And the house is mostly what you'd expect. She's got some cute furniture.
This I found on First Dibs, maybe? I f***ing love First Dibs so much.
Yeah, man. I mean, I would too if I made that kind of money. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? But that's not what went viral. What went viral was this moment.
I love limes. I love them. They're great. I love them so much, and I like to present them like this in my house.
I mean, yeah, I like limes too. But that's like a lot of limes. And they're in 2 separate bowls. Like, it's not the weirdest thing ever, but it's weird enough to point it out.
I love them so much, and I like to present them like this in my house.
I like to present them like this in my house. Like, the way she said that is weird. People saw that clip, and they thought it was strange, obviously. But then, a little later, she goes on Jimmy Fallon, and she says this.
I'm allergic to limes.
Oh my, stop it now.
It was hard to just ignore them, so I just lied. Just lied.
Why would you lie about that? Like, that's something I would lie about. But I'm not the one who's in really expensive movies about spanking people, so I'm allowed to lie.
Do you not love limes?
I don't really care.
These incidents kind of got Dakota labeled as one of the top off-putting funny women in Hollywood. But for some reason, the off-putting hot women always gotta end up in a nerd movie at some point. So she gets cast as Madam Web, a superhero, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't call her a superhero, but I'm not the boss, so whatever. But the thing is, it seems that Dakota, being a normal, offline, artsy white lady, has her own preconceived opinions and views on superhero movies. Number 1, every superhero movie is a Marvel movie. Number 2, every Marvel movie is in the MCU. Number 3, all of this is stupid. Now, I can't really blame her for having these opinions, but it does put her in an awkward position, because she signed on to this trash Sonyverse D-list superhero movie that is not at all part of the very lucrative MCU. There's a very funny clip where she recounts how she was talking to Elizabeth Olsen when she was offered the role, and it sounds like she's talking about how she went through couples therapy. It's like she's talking about changing her medication or something.
I ran into Lizzie Olsen, and that was helpful. She said she had a great time and seemed very relaxed about it.
It sounds like she thinks this is something way more than it is. She clearly was told by everybody that this was gonna be a big deal. She's gonna be in a Marvel movie, just like Robert Downey Jr. She's gonna be in the Avengers.
So you're a part of the Marvel universe.
I know.
Now you know what that means.
What does it mean?
You're going to be doing like 35 films. You have career employment for the rest of your life.
And to a normal person who doesn't watch superhero movies and doesn't go on the internet, I understand why she was confused. She was not properly briefed on the fact that she was going to be in superhero shovelware.
You know, because this is sort of a standalone world and it's not, you know, this is Madam Web's world before Spider-Man exists. So it's,
Now this wouldn't really matter, except for the fact that we got a promo where she says this.
I have always really loved Marvel movies.
Uh-huh. See, I want to believe you, but the way you said that kind of had the same delivery as when you said you love limes.
I mean, what percent of Marvel movies have you seen?
4%.
4%. Can you
which is like 15 minutes of one.
Yeah, okay, see, that's what I thought. She lies for fun, which is very funny. I have to give it to her. So as a result, the Madam Web press tour is full of very painfully awkward moments where the people doing the interviews are trying to talk to this poor, terminally offline, crystal-loving Yakubian about Marvel movies.
Do you remember the first Marvel female character that you fell in love with on screen?
I don't.
This lady has no idea what she got herself into. Her co-stars are fully in and on board. They're excited to be Spider people. And when you hear Sydney Sweeney talk about the movie, it has the exact opposite energy as when Dakota talks about it.
One of the comic drawings that I saw of Julia was always upside down, feet together, very ballet aerialist moves. So I begged and begged and begged to have my character drop from the ceiling because that's just what Julia would have done. I have a lot of photos of me just hanging upside down.
Can you name the 3 Spider-Man Tom Holland movies?
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just funny to me. I love seeing painfully awkward moments, and these interviews are just full of them.
That's pretty cool. Is this what his costume looks like?
That's him.
It looks like him to me. But, I mean, cool, I'm excited.
And this attitude is somehow present in the final product. Cassandra Webb acts like a lady who lies about liking limes and just doesn't give a fuck about anything or anyone. She doesn't even name her cat.
1 second, cat.
I'd be inclined to say that this is one of her main conflicts, that the movie is about her learning how to take care of people, and that is true, but the prevailing aura of not giving a fuck is ever present in this movie.
Believe me or don't, I don't care.
Are you a sarcastic person yourself at all, or is that kind of...
I'm not very sarcastic, no.
I don't really think I needed to go that in depth. I give Dakota Johnson a 7 out of 10. So anyway, Cassie saves this lady's life, and her son tries to thank her with a lovely crayon drawing. And of course, since she doesn't like people, she has this awkward fit about it.
What am I supposed to do with this?
Just put it in your pocket and then throw it away somewhere else.
I can't even fold it. It's like cardboard.
Girl, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you a paramedic? Even Uncle Ben is like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you?
Oh, come on. We both hate family stuff.
This dialogue is so fucking funny. How else would I have known that unless she said it out loud?
Us strays need to stick together.
Yeah, okay, I get it. I see that this movie operates on the philosophy of tell, don't show. So Cassie and Ben are out saving the lives of people that they don't care about when, oopsie, she dies. But then this activates her latent powers and she sees everything that's gonna happen in the movie. You see that big S? You know what that stands for?
Stinky.
After Ben resuscitates her, she starts having these weird moments where time rewinds and she gets really confused. I sure hope this doesn't get annoying later. Then she says this.
I just want to go home and watch Idol.
Which is totally a thing that people said back in the early 2000s. And then we get to see what the main villain's up to. He lures this lady back to his house and he takes her to bed and he has this very hilarious dream where a bunch of CW superheroes murder him. Now, this is a very interesting scene because it shows all the young women that Cassie has crossed paths with up to this point, and it shows us that they're eventually going to get superpowers and murder the shit out of this guy. But we never see any of this happen. We never see it get set up. The girls never get superpowers in this movie. We never see what motivation they had for murdering him in this vision. We don't know why they stole his magical spider. We don't know anything. The girls in their costumes were used all over the marketing for this movie, and this is seriously the only time we see them like this outside of the epilogue. I do not know why it's like this. I think it's very funny that we're to expect that these girls get superpowers off screen and then they just decide,
let's kill him, let's kill this guy, let's beat him to death with hammers.
And while this vision brings up a plethora of questions that will never be answered, it does serve as the driving motivation for Ezekiel Sims, our main villain. He stole the magical spider from Madam Web's dead mom, used it to get Spider-Man powers because he grew up poor or something. I don't know, he doesn't really elaborate on his motivations. But now, years later, he's plagued with visions of his impending murder, and he wants to kill the girls before they kill him. Also, his words still don't match his mouth. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing for the whole movie.
You have no idea of the torment and torture of dying over and over again.
The ADR is so bad in his scenes that I legitimately cannot understand how they shipped the movie in this state. It's like he's a character from Kung Pao. It's seriously that bad.
She can't hide them forever.
I implore you to reconsider.
I don't know what the reason for this could be other than the fact that the movie went through more than a few rewrites during production. I remember reading a leaked synopsis years ago that said Madam Web and her Spider Women would have to stop Ezekiel from absorbing the power from baby Peter Parker. Now, spoilers, baby Peter Parker is featured in the movie, because of course he is, this movie's trash. And if you're familiar with comics, you might have realized now that Ezekiel Sims is not an evil murderer in the source material, and that this character more closely resembles the Spider-Man villain Morlun. And judging by the fact that most of the main villain's dialogue is not visibly spoken by him, it definitely shows me that this plot was changed in a big way. I have no idea if that was for the better or not, but I do know it makes this movie a lot funnier.
It's a good thing you had no idea today was the day you were going to die.
This movie's so fucking good. Also, he gets this super high-tech software that lets him track his supposed murderers. But the funny part is that they use the software to find out what the girls will look like if they're aged down 10 years younger.
Here's what they should look like now.
They look exactly the same. Do you think I'm fucking stupid or something?
They're younger than I thought.
They look exactly the same. So anyway, Cassie heads to Peter Parker's mom's baby shower, in case you weren't aware of how hilariously stupid this movie is.
Never stops leaping around in there.
Oh, get it? Because Spider-Man's in there. Peter Parker's mom makes Cassie interact with other humans, which of course causes her to short circuit because she hates people that much. I actually do think this scene's pretty funny, like on purpose. The rest of the movie's funny on accident, but this one works just fine.
My mother actually died in childbirth. Well, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't, obviously it was bad, you know, she died.
So anyway, Cassie experiences another weird vision, which makes her really confused. What? Huh? And then she goes back to work, saving the lives of people she doesn't care about, when she gets another weird vision, which makes her really confused. Huh? What? And then her friend dies.
I'm ghost riding the whip! Crazy taxi!
Then she's at home, and she has another weird vision, which makes her really confused. This scene's really funny because it treats us, the audience, like we're stupid moron babies. She's watching A Christmas Carol in the middle of the summer because her doctor said,
"Get some rest. Watch old movies."
That's so the audience won't question why she's watching A Christmas Carol in the middle of the summer. And Cassie's really upset because she couldn't use her new powers to save her friend. She's really depressed about it.
Ah, the only shadows of things that might be.
Hate to break it to you, Scrooge, but you can't change anything.
Tell, don't show. And then a bird flies into her window like a lunatic and dies. She then flashes back a few minutes and she sits and she wonders, should I try to change the future? And of course, don't forget this movie's for morons, so of course she says everything out loud.
This isn't gonna change anything.
And lo and behold, she actually changes the future. I wonder how she feels about this. Oh, don't worry, she'll tell us.
Guess he didn't die after all.
This movie's written by AI. Like, are you not gonna let me use my brain to decipher the information shown to me? Why does everybody say everything out loud? So anyway, Cassie's filled with determination to use her powers for good, and she decides to go ride the train. I don't know why, I don't know where she's going. The movie forgot to tell us. And then, while she's on the train, she has another weird vision, which makes her really confused.
Alright, I get it!
Okay, so yeah, this is probably the most annoying aspect of the film. At this point, Cassie knows she can see the future. She's known it for a good while now. But regardless, in every scene where she gets a vision of the future, she spends a few minutes looking around and wondering, what happened? Am I having a vision? What was that? It's almost like I had a vision. Oh my God. Could it be? I think I had a fucking vision. And it's just tedious. There's no other word for it. We obviously know she's having a fucking vision, and she knows she's having a vision. It's happened like 6 times by now. So scenes like this go on for way too long. And she should be getting used to this by now, but no. just so we are sure she's having a vision, we gotta hear this person multiple times. We gotta hear the train tracks multiple times. We gotta see this guy multiple times with his PSP. Brought to you by Sony. Thank you, Sony. Wait, hold on a minute. Doesn't this movie take place in 2003? No. So her super long vision shows her that these 3 young girls that are sharing the train with her are going to be brutally murdered by this evil Spider-Man guy. Because evil Spider-Man's evil secretary used evil surveillance software to track them down.
What are the odds of them all being in the same place at the same time?
Do we maybe want to try that line one more time? Maybe like one more take. No? Okay. So Madam Web decides to use her powers to save these girls and get them off the train before evil Spider-Man murders them. See, this narrative mostly revolves around our main characters running away from evil Spider-Man. Cassie steals a taxi and abducts the 3 girls, and it's about time we meet our 3 future Spider-Woman murderers. Julia Carpenter is a young girl who will one day possess spider powers and murder Ezekiel Sims, the evil Spider-Man. Her dad married a new woman and is slowly replacing his daughter with his new wife and child. As such, she has no family. She's all on her own. Maddie Franklin is a young girl who will one day possess spider powers and murder Ezekiel Sims, the evil Spider-Man. Her parents are super rich and just kinda don't like her. As such, she has no family. She's on her own. Anya Corazon is a young girl who will one day possess spider powers and murder Ezekiel Sims, the evil Spider-Man. Her dad got deported. Oh my god. For real? That's the backstory? Oh. That's really bad. I'm sorry. As such, she has no family. She's on her own. Yeah, all these girls inexplicably have the same backstory. And this isn't because of fate or destiny or anything like that. The movie doesn't talk about it. They don't act like it's that big a deal. It's just a coincidence. Now, this is how you write an economical screenplay. This is how you do as little work as possible. Because why make 3 different characters when you could simply make one character 3 times? Now, Madam Web has to keep these 3 kids safe, and even though she has no reason to think that evil Spider-Man is using high-tech surveillance software to track them, she throws out all their phones and drives them into the woods. See, personally, if I was writing a story about a clairvoyant superhero, I would just make it so she has a vision where she sees him tracking them or something. But no, she just sends them off into the woods, off the grid, for no reason. I mean, I suppose she just had a really good guess. So Cassie realizes that the evil Spider-Man reminds her of the research her mom was doing on spiders in the Amazon right before she died. So her new brilliant idea is to leave the 3 girls in the forest for a few hours. That way she can go home and look at her mom's notes. Now see, this would make more sense if Cassie knew for a fact that evil Spider-Man was tracking them with his stupid software. But again, she doesn't know that. She doesn't know who he is, what he can do, or how he's tracking them. So her leaving them in the forest alone for a few hours is really, really stupid.
3 hours, okay? Just stay here and don't do anything dumb. Don't do dumb things.
What are you doing? So obviously the girls don't just sit in the forest for 3 hours, and honestly, I can't really blame them. So they go to a nearby diner to get some food. But then they see some cute boys. And they just start dancing on the fucking table.
That's not allowed.
Cassie finishes her research and tries to go back to the forest with her stolen taxi that has no license plates. Which is really convenient, by the way. I'm glad nobody pulled her over. That's pretty lucky. And now this part is really crazy to me, so pay attention. She notices that the girls are gone. They're not in the forest anymore. So she leaves the taxi and she walks up the road to the diner and sees the girls dancing on the table. Then evil Spider-Man comes in and he kills everybody because he hates women, I guess. This flashes Cassie back and she realizes she had a vision. As usual, she sits in the forest for a few minutes and she thinks to herself, oh my god, did I just have a vision? This isn't the first time this has happened. You know you can see the future. So she decides to take matters into her own hands. She gets into the taxi this time so she can drive to the diner and get there faster and save them. But somehow, evil Spider-Man gets there before she does, which doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Like, yeah, she got stuck behind a truck for a little bit of the drive, but she's still presumably going the speed limit, which is faster than her walking. But whatever, I guess we need to get a cool scene where she hits evil Spider-Man with the stolen taxi. But this raises another question that the movie does not have an answer for. You see, when Cassie returns to her house to read her mom's notes, she learned all about Ezekiel and what his powers are. And we're basically told that he has all the powers that Spider-Man has. Plus he has like evil purple poison in his fingers, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that this includes spider senses. You know, the thing that protects Spider-Man from unseen threats. See, the funny thing about evil Spider-Man is that I guess his spider senses just kind of don't work when the plot needs them to not work.
Guys, fast. We have to go.
I gotta admit it. I did not see this coming. In a million years.
So Cassie decides that the only way to help the girls is to return to the Amazon where her mom died while she was researching spiders. So she leaves the girls again. And if 3 hours wasn't enough, this time she leaves for a few weeks. Like when things inevitably go wrong because you abandon these teenagers for an extended period of time, you can't get mad. Like when they mess up, I can't blame them because they're teenagers being hunted by a fucking supervillain. You're the adult with psychic superpowers. You should know better because you got really mad at them last time when you left them in the middle of the woods for 3 hours.
So much for not needing a babysitter. Do you guys think of anybody but yourselves?
Hold on. This whole operation was your idea.
Now, she doesn't have a plan for when she gets to the Amazon. She doesn't know what's in there. Nobody told her to do this, but she does it anyway. See, if I was writing a story about a clairvoyant superhero, I'd maybe give her a vision that pushes her towards this location. Like, there are so many ways to make this story make sense. You have the easiest job ever. You have a main character who can see the future. They know the plot of the story. But if the plot of the story is stupid, then it doesn't really matter, does it? Most of the time, she doesn't use her power for anything useful. She just stumbles upon the solutions of her problems randomly. It's all just a little too convenient. And what's also convenient is that she manages to get on a plane and get to Peru really easily. Now, that might not seem like a big deal. I say this because she's actively being hunted by the police. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to bring that up. Everybody thinks she murdered a bunch of cops and kidnapped these 3 girls. She is wanted for murder and kidnapping. And she's driving a stolen taxi. This is after 9/11 in New York fucking City. There's no way in hell she just went to the airport and flew to Peru with no issues. That is literally too far for my imagination to stretch. So anyway, when she gets to Peru, one of the forest spider people shows up and he helps her connect to her past. She sees visions that make her realize that her mom wasn't just mean. She was mean because she cares. Aww. Then Jungle Spider-Man sends her home and he says some corny Spider-Man bullshit because this is the most unsubtle movie ever made.
And when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
Also during this time we get a few more scenes of evil Spider-Man, and I'm not lying when I say this movie really does have the worst ADR I've ever seen in a film. Like, period. The movie's almost over and I'm just shocked that it never gets any better. It's like this the whole time.
But in the future, they have powers, and they will try to destroy me. I came from nothing, less than nothing. I will not give up.
So anyway, Peter Parker's mom goes into labor while Cassie's gone, so Ben has to take the girls with him to the hospital. Even though he was told by Cassie not to let them out until she returns because they're being tracked by evil Spider-Man, which is something she still doesn't actually know, but I'm not gonna worry about that anymore. Presumably, these girls have been under lock and key for 3 weeks because that's what evil Spider-Man tells us. And there's no reason to take them with you. You could just leave them at home. But no, he just takes them out into the city. The movie's going so fast at this point that it's like they're trying to distract us from the fact that it doesn't make any sense. The movie's allergic to giving the characters reasons for doing the things that they do. So anyway, evil Spider-Man obviously tracks them down instantly, but thankfully, Cassie's back in town and she's gonna try to save them, and she still has the taxi? No, I'm sorry, no. There's no way she drove a stolen taxi with no license plates to the airport, parked it, and then claimed it 3 weeks later. Now she's stealing an ambulance? Why does she like stealing cars so much? Anyway, thankfully, evil Spider-Man's spider senses don't work when the plot needs them not to work, so Cassie hits him with the car again.
I did not see this coming.
And now all of a sudden, this guy just kind of sucks at everything. He just isn't really that powerful anymore. Now that the movie's entered its climax, he can't even break into a car to kill some teenagers. And now for the final confrontation, Cassie gets a brilliant idea. She takes the girls and leads evil Spider-Man into the unstable firework warehouse that she was at earlier in the movie. And her genius plan is to set off all the fireworks while they're all inside, blow up evil Spider-Man, and then call in a helicopter to save them on the roof. Now, these are just regular fireworks, but they're also capable of blowing holes through walls. They even shoot down the fucking helicopter Cassie calls to save them. But they're just fireworks, they're not missiles. If they were that dangerous, they would all be dead by now. Oh, sorry, they don't destroy this little piece of metal she has, so I guess the screenplay decides how strong the fireworks are. Duh, of course. Also, I know I've said it before, but it's really fucking funny how this guy is so easily tricked. His spider powers don't do shit for him anymore. He can't dodge the fireworks to save his life. He's not strong enough to kill Cassie once he does get his hands on her. And right before he does manage to kill all of them, Cassie activates her Kage Bunshin no Jutsu to stop him. Oh, sorry, no, I'm misremembering. She doesn't actually defeat him. His spider senses stop working just in time for a piece of metal to fall on him. And I guess he kind of had a weak breakfast or didn't get enough sleep last night because his super strength isn't enough to lift this tiny piece of metal. And, unfortunately, as his vision showed him, he falls to his death. This movie is... oh, it's a work of art, let me tell you. Oh, and of course I forgot, the movie does need for Madam Web to be paralyzed and blind. So at the last minute, one of the nuclear fucking fireworks hits her in the face and she can't see anymore. I just want to point out again that these fireworks did blow holes in brick walls and destroy an entire helicopter. But I guess it just hit her a little bit in the face, just grazed her a little bit. Oh, and I guess she hits the water really hard and she can't walk anymore either. I don't know. The movie forgot to tell me, and I don't really care anymore. See, because, a superhero origin movie is supposed to have our hero learn about how their powers work and gain their confidence. So this movie, of course, has to make Madam Web earn her iconic disabilities. And honestly, the most insane thing about the movie to me, the thing that changes the entire tone and intention of the characters, is the fact that Cassie, in her new enlightened state, strongly implies that she knows Uncle Ben is going to end up raising and inspiring baby Peter Parker.
He's loving being an uncle.
Yeah, all the fun and none of the responsibility.
That's what he thinks.
Now, if I was stupid, I would hear that and think, oh, that's cute. But the thing is, I'm not. Not today, at least. Because this means that she knows her friend Mary is going to die in a horrific plane crash, and she's simply not going to do anything about it. She also knows that her best friend, Ben Parker, is going to get gunned down like a dog, and she's not going to do anything about it. In fact, she seems to think it's a little bit ironic, a little bit funny. I mean, hey, at the end of the day, I guess she still doesn't really care about helping people. Oh, and I guess she's somehow no longer wanted by the state of New York for murder and kidnapping. I don't know how that got cleared up. The movie doesn't want to tell me. And then also, she just adopts all three of the girls, which I also have a lot of questions about. But unfortunately for me, the movie wants to wrap it up, and I kind of want it to as well. So to top things off, we end the film with a truly hilarious and out-of-touch montage of all of our heroes fighting crime with the superpowers we never saw them receive, in costumes that look truly god-awful, to tease a sequel that's never, ever gonna come out. Also, the last shot of the movie is just that one shot that we saw earlier. It's exactly the same. So yeah, goes without saying that this movie's not very good. Most people have asked me to review this one because they don't want to watch it themselves, and honestly, I don't blame y'all. As for me, I'm left a little bit disappointed. Not because I wanted this movie to be good, but because I kind of wanted it to be worse. The film is bad, but it's only funny bad like a third of the time. It's like an annoying Final Destination movie, without the spectacle of like gore and death, and it's just replaced with Dakota Johnson looking at the camera and being confused all the time. Though weirdly enough, it actually doesn't look that bad half the time. Like the color grading and cinematography are at times much better than what you'd see in an MCU movie, and Dakota Johnson does actually have some legitimately funny line deliveries here and there.
Hey, am I on the right train?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I figured I'd throw in a few compliments so you guys don't wonder why I'm not giving it a 2 out of 10. And my only hope is that Kraven the Hunter and Venom 3 are hilariously bad enough to sate my bloodlust, because Madam Web just didn't give me what I crave. I need to absorb more bad Spider-Man movies. They fuel me. So Madam Web barely inches her way onto the delicious garbage tier and earns herself a 3 out of 10.
Can you name the 3 Spider-Man Tom Holland movies?
Yeah.
Should I just go on faith?
Yeah. Oh. Spider-Man, here he comes.
Here he comes,
That's number 1.
Yep.
Spider-Man, and he's back. And the other one, the last one is the Goblet of Spider-Man.
Need a vacation.
Harry, Spider-Man, and the Goblet of Man.